Okay. Can you all see my screen? Can you see my screen? Oh, perfect.
Yes, yes, that's it.
Okay. So we'll give 2 minutes before we introduce. Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us in today's webinar and event on ocean literacy and connecting uh, the coastal connections to the ocean in Africa. And this is a very important webinar, and I'm sure that's one of the reasons why every one of us is joining. And as quick as possible, use the chat box to tell us your name and your country. So that would be important for the introduction for today's event. So we are really looking at the cultural impact and traditions and cultures, this heritage that we Africans share with the oceans. As we all know that the ocean is a very important entity for us. It has really shaped our culture. It has shaped our lives. It has shaped what we eat, what we dress, and several things that we could get from the oceans. And ocean literacy is one important aspect to show that relationship with the oceans and also our own uh, 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 actions towards the oceans. So in the past, we've really seen that the oceans has played a very great importance to traditional societies and even in traditional knowledge sharings. And so we want to use this opportunity to have this webinar to really show what it's like. And during the first day, we will be looking at heritage, we'll be looking at poems and ocean literacy. And so we would like you to keep yourself buckled up for the event today. And joining us to moderate this event is Sophia Larissa. And Sophia Larissa is a co-coordinator. And together we coordinate the Ocean Literacy Hub for Africa, ECOP. And she's a PhD student from Morocco, and she's really using ocean literacy as an effective tools to give to showcase the relationship people in Africa have with the oceans. So I have her joining us here, and so Sophia, you have the floor, and thank you.
Thank you so much, Chris, for the introduction. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, or evening, depending on your time zone. And welcome. It's a pleasure to have you here. And of course, on behalf of the Ocean Literacy Hub, I welcome you to our first day of the 2 days webinar on ocean literacy and coastal connection to the ocean in Africa. Next slide, please. So, as we may know, ocean literacy is generally related to the sharing of knowledge and capacity building. But this webinar this time is more about sharing our stories, our heritage, our culture, and of course, the emotional connections that us Africans have with the ocean. And as we know, for centuries, the ocean has shaped our identity, spirituality, and our daily life. And through this series or through this webinar, we will be exploring how these cultural and emotional dimensions strengthen our connection and strengthen ocean literacy and ocean conservation. So, a quick note before starting our webinar, we will have two sessions, as Chris mentioned. Each one is about 1 hour and a half. Then we are asking you please to stay muted while our speakers will be presenting. Then, of course, if you have any questions or you want to share an insight, please don't forget that we have a chat box, or you can also use the Q&A box. And towards the end, we will have an interactive poll, so we ask you please to participate actively. Next slide, please. So now, of course, as we mentioned, the different objectives are trying to reconnect, but also to strengthen our connection towards the ocean, but also our connection as a unity, as a continent. And so this is why our first day, next slide, please, Chris. Our first day is on the waves of heritage, traditional practices across Africa. So, today we will be exploring how the ocean has shaped rituals, customs, and heritage across African coastal communities, and how these traditions continue to guide sustainable practices and belonging. So, for our first speaker, next slide, please, Chris. Chris.
Can you see it?
Yes, please. But it turned dark.
I mean, sorry, my system just started hanging.
It happens. Thank you, Chris. Bear with us. If we can move to the slide on our first distinguished speaker.
Okay, the slide
It's not
is not
sliding.
even is not even sliding. That's the thing. So you can
Okay, I will introduce Josephine. So, our first speaker has been working on the intersection between science, policy, and resources. It's my pleasure. I hope the slide will work, but it's my pleasure to introduce Josephine Laryea Asare, who is a marine fisheries specialist and a PhD researcher. Josephine has worked extremely or extensively with fishing communities in Ghana and Scotland, and she's promoting inclusive governance, abridging traditional ecological knowledge with scientific approaches. So, Josephine, welcome, and please, the floor is yours on sharing about waves of heritage, how ocean shapes traditional practices across Africa. Josephine?
All right. Thank you, Sophia. And hello, everyone. Um, I think I could share my screen now.
okay, I just stopped sharing. Good.
All right. So just kindly give me feedback when everything is live. Could we confirm if it's live?
We can see Josephine, it's just that it's on the presenter mode.
Okay. Are we there yet?
Yeah, you can go to the presenter mode now.
It says I'm sharing. Maybe let me
Yes, you're
try.
sharing. You're actually sharing.
Okay, great. So I could start.
Yeah.
All right. So hello everyone again. And I want to say thank you to Chris and Sophia and the ECOP team for putting together this webinar. And I also want to say a special thank you to my academic advisor for recommending me to speak on this special topic, which is dear to me. And I know technology can have its way. So if at any point in time my slides are not sliding, please just, Sophia and Chris, please just give me a shout. So today I'm inviting you all to get on your surfboards to join me ride the waves of heritage and explore how the oceans have shaped traditional practices across Africa. So for an overview, I'm going to start by telling you my ocean love story. I'll reflect on the importance of the oceans. Together, we will explore how the oceans connect us globally, and then I will set a focus on Africa with a few case studies. I would also highlight the interdependence of the oceans with terrestrial drawing upon a global ecosystem. Then we will see how tradition has seen its reflections in science and move on to see some suggestions of recommended action. Then we will wrap up and we'll take some questions from there. So to my ocean love story, my name has been mentioned. I'm Josephine Laryea Asare. I grew up in a coastal town in Ghana. My hometown is La, sometimes called Labadi. And because of the body in it, my people say they don't want to be associated with bad things, so it has been shortened to La. But I grew up in Teshi. My people are also close to Teshi. Teshi and La are not too far apart. And these communities are coastal communities in the greater Accra region of Ghana. My kinsmen are typically fisher folk, and little wonder that I started having a strong drawing to being at the beach and love for seafood. But growing up, I was quite fascinated by National Geographic documentaries. I was just in love with the ocean and the water scenes where you see the fish swimming, the colorful scenes of the ocean, the coral reefs. That just really sparked my interest in oceans. Then I went to school and I learned about the global climate crisis and how it is impacting the ocean. I learned that the fish stocks were depleting. The beautiful fish that I used to see on the National Geographic documentaries was depleting. Then it got to me. I was wondering, how can I make a change, or how can I be a part of this change to help contribute to secure the oceans? I know it was quite an ambitious aim, but I wanted to be part of making the wrong right. So this began my ocean journey and has led me to where I am here today. So the importance of the oceans cannot be overemphasized. We know that the ocean provides essential services for the environment, the economy, society. It provides oxygen that we breathe. It provides fish as food. It provides livelihood. It's a means of transport. It's a fiber of cultural heritage. It also helps with leisure and recreation to improve our human well-being. It supports with climate regulations. It helps with pharmaceutical development and advancement. It supports with energy. The list just goes on and on. But today we want to just focus on one prominent ocean advocate and researcher's thoughts, which says that after living for nearly 100 years on this planet, he, Sir David Attenborough, now understands that the most important place on earth is not on land, but actually at sea. So the oceans have been a global bridge and as well as a barrier for governance, trade, migration, and cultural exchange for generations and even for the millenniums. It has influenced language, it has influenced food, it has influenced religion and mythology, which the introduction that Chris gave touched on slightly. But I want us to take us a deep into it a bit. So tracking back to the historical voyages and the maritime expeditions since the colonial ages, these expeditions sparked trade networks for transporting and exchanging of goods, which at that time included people, human beings, ideas, traditions, which also included their language, their religious beliefs, the way they dress, their food, and their knowledge. The transportation of these things across continents actually has altered civilization permanently. We can talk of the maritime Silk Road from China through Africa to Europe. We can also talk of the spice routes, the transatlantic slave trade that I mentioned earlier. We can talk of penal transportation of convicts across the oceans to places that are far away by sea and divided by sea so that they cannot return back to their land. In thinking about scientific explorations and discoveries, we can make mention of the HMS Challenger expedition, which was a major survey that helped us understand undersea life. And the discovery of marine technologies like the sonar, submersibles, has shaped our understanding of the oceans. Ocean mythology, symbolisms of the sea stories and songs have also been transported through these voyages. The Pacific Island voyaging stories, sea shanties, that is, the shanties are the songs that are sung by fisherfolk as they are carrying out their work. And we even have some of them that have been turned into animations, which is depicted by the picture of Moana here. Moana is one of my personal favorites, by the way. So moving on. So indigenous coastal communities are estimated to be over 1,900 across 87 countries and territories. And we know that these people are highly dependent on coastal resources, and these resources are equally vulnerable to climate change. Coastal communities of indigenous people also offer vital local biodiversity service. However, these services that these communities offer is often recognized, is least recognized in some regions. Indigenous marine storytelling has, just give me a second to backtrack there a bit. Yeah, so talking about indigenous coastal communities, we want to look at a few cases. The sea nomads of the Bajau people of the Philippine origin, that is the image to the left and the middle. These people in the left, the image there, they have used self-taught carpentry skills. And a Bajuan one said that these methods have been delivered to him from generation to generation, and he's able to build a fishing boat in about a week without looking at any drawing. It is also said of these Bajau people that they have preserved historical maritime hunting techniques that has been passed to them from generations to generations. And as well as relying on these techniques to fish and get food to eat, they are able to trade the surplus fish, the lobsters or the sea cucumbers they get with the islanders to help them stock up on essential survival items because they live on the sea and they go to the mainland or the island to trade these items. So through these through these communities, we have indigenous marine storytelling, where coastal communities showcase their generational wisdom that they have through storytellings. And these storytellings embody sophisticated ecological knowledge of their environment that has shown proven alignment actually with modern scientific discoveries. Most of the time, these stories are transferred or are sent through vehicles of oral traditions where an elder will sit down and tell stories to the younger ones or to the ones that he's trying to pass the knowledge on to. We also see that indigenous communities have had traditional navigation and they have deep knowledge of marine species. They also sometimes have sacred sites or sanctuaries that are dear to the communities and they revere them. These could be seen to be spiritual connections, but in the other light, it also has some ecological connections. So at this point, I think it is good to start defining the term that I'm using a lot, traditional, and it's been called several names. We have traditional ecological knowledge, we have indigenous knowledge, but I want to just stick to the term traditional ecological knowledge for the context of the presentation today. So Mona and Beckers define traditional ecological knowledge as the cumulative body of knowledge, practices, beliefs, that have been developed from a local people's relationship with one another and their environment. And this knowledge has been passed down through generations by cultural transmissions. This knowledge has been applied locally through the healthcare systems, has been applied in agriculture, has been applied in food systems, in forestry, as well as in fisheries. So zooming in from our global scope, I want us to now take a look at the African context and explore how the ocean weaves an African tapestry. So Africa's ocean means different things to its different people. And a few ways in which the ocean is perceived is first as a spiritual force and provider. So the ocean is seen as a sacred space of sustenance and spiritual renewal. You might have heard of stories of ocean spirits called Mami Water, and this is called different things in several locations. I know there's another name in Nigeria, they call it Yemoja, and the same Nigeria also call it Olokun, and these spirits are believed to be great symbols of the deep and of wealth. So they believe that when these spirits are treated right, they are given what they desire, they are able to give unto the people that are trusting them wealth. The African oceans is also seen as a sacred space where sometimes we have rituals, taboos, or days on which you are not allowed as an inhabitants to approach the sea. In Ghana, for example, Tuesdays are seen as a non-fishing day or more like a sacred day. And this might have some traditional connotations, but if you look at it on the other side, it has some conservation implications as well. Africa's oceans is also seen as an age-old teacher. We know through conversations earlier that the communities have received a lot of knowledge from their interaction with the environment. And this age-old wisdom has been passed down through the elders onto the next generations, and knowledge about things such as fishing techniques, their fishing practices, how to understand the tides, the currents, and also to navigate their way across the seas. The ocean also has been seen as a body of identity. Chris was saying earlier that sometimes in some African cultures, the ocean represents both a source of healing and a memorial for lives lost during the transportation and exploitation of slaves in the colonial times. We also see that diaspora connections, people that travel through these Black times, have seen some of their cultures being transported from one continent to another. We have an example in the tradition of Mami Water, which although we know is popular in Western and Central Africa, is also evident in the religion of the Caribbeans, where it's shown how such traditions have crossed over the oceans to be present in another space and their religion over there. So African ocean traditions encompasses a very rich diversity of beliefs and/or practices. The first is folklore, taboos, and myths. I had earlier mentioned about Mami Wata. It may be true, it may not be true, but this is something that the people have believed and it has shaped their lives. We also have marine species like whales and turtles that some local communities see as deities, and for that reason, they are not allowed to eat it. In a way, it also helps with conservation of these species. You might have heard of some fishermen telling stories that if you go to sea on a day that is banned for fishing, you might end up seeing a ghost vessel, or you hear a strange song calling you out, and that you might get lost. Sometimes these songs could have some fear with them to help maybe deter people from doing what is not they don't want to. But if you look at it on the other side too, it's mostly associated with conservation. So the oceans of Africa also has embedded in it traditional ecological knowledge. And I shared earlier that the African people have used the stars to do the navigation. People are able to predict bumper catches by just observing the surface of the sea. They go to the sea and they dig their feet into the sea sand. And with that, they can tell you that, oh, there's going to be a bumper catch on such and such day. There's going to be a rainfall because the weather has changed to this part. And this is an embodiment of knowledge that they have passed on, and it is with them. It's not in the book, it's not documented sadly, but it's passed on orally. And most of this technology, these traditional ecological knowledge have been transferred to make sustainable fishing techniques of sustainable fishing methods. Most of these local methods that our indigenous people use are sustainable compared to the modern ones that technology is bringing out. We also have close links of Africa's oceans with livelihoods. And because it's centered around the ocean, fishing is seen as a very big part of this tradition. Fishing is more than a way of life, I would say fishing is more than a livelihood. I would say is a way of life, it's a culture. And it is evident in the other livelihoods that are linked to fishing. We have fish processing, we have fish trading, and a whole ecosystem that is built locally dependent on fishing. If you go to Liberia, because I'm from Ghana, I just want to use a Ghanaian example. If you go to Liberia, you go to Nigeria, you go to Gambia, we have communities of fisher folk that call themselves Ghana fishermen in these communities because of the migration. So we see as it's unifying us. We having transnational identical communities. In Scotland, they will say Twin City or Twin City in another place. But this is how the ocean has linked Africa's communities. Beyond all these things, the folklore, the traditional ecological knowledge, the livelihoods, an important part of this is culture and festivals. We have several rituals that are linked with sea deities, where a group of people believe that the sea has a deity in it that needs to be revered because it supplies them with food in the form of fish. And to also be able to reciprocate that relationship, they offer up food or animal sacrifices to the deity. So it's more like a give and take relationship. As part of the culture, we also have diverse food that is centered on seafood, so fish and the other kind of seafood. So diving further into Africa, I want to take a few case studies. Our first stop will be in South Africa. So for many indigenous groups in coastal South Africa, the ocean is a source of ancestral reverence and healing. So I hope I'm pronouncing this rightly, the Xhosa people of Eastern Cape, as well as the people of Durban, they see the sea to be a sacred place of ancestral healing, where the seawater is used to cleanse and wash away bad luck, to heal illnesses, and also to help them connect with their ancestors. If you look at the image that I have put up here, the Kiskama Art Projects created a very large tapestry, which they titled Our Sacred Ocean. And this particular artwork was done to document the people's stories, their memories, and the traditional practices as it related to the sea. And it highlighted the deep spiritual connections that these cultures and the people of Xhosa have with the ocean. Moving on to another case study, and we'll look at Mozambique. So Mozambique's coastline is marked by its history being a hub in the Indian Ocean trade network. And this has left a strong legacy of maritime culture, particularly on islands like Ilha de Mozambique, which is also a UNESCO World Heritage Site. And it showcases in their unique shipbuilding techniques and the folklore. The area's history of settlement, travel, and trade has created a vibrant maritime culture around fishing. And for these coastal villages, traditional fishing and cultural practices are deeply intertwined. They are almost inseparable. So these communities, when you go there as a visitor, you get to see a glimpse into their traditional way of life as it depends on the sea. A typical example is seen in their Capulana, which I have taken a few pictures here on the left. And this capulana is a vibrant and widely used pattern fabric, and is influenced by trade and often used by female who are fish sellers as part of their traditional attire during their trade. Another African case study will be going this time around to Kenya. So Kenya's coastal regions, particularly in the Swahili coast, is a showcase of a blend of tradition which has been shaped by centuries of Indian Ocean trade, just similar to Mozambique. And the Swahilian culture is a fusion of African, Arab, and Indian cultures that has been influenced earlier, as I mentioned, by the African trade. And this can be seen in the reflection in their coastal architecture, which is characterized by intricate carvings, as well as the clothing they wear. Earlier, Chris mentioned about clothing, the music, and the festivals. Another big part of Kenya's culture with the ocean is seen in their celebrations or festivals. The Lamu Festival is a beautifully celebrated one where you see the canoes. It's called those but I will say canoes because that is the term I'm familiar with. And you see the food that is vibrant, all related to the sea. So this is an avenue to bring people together to celebrate their connection with the sea. Another celebration in Kenya is the Mombasa Carnival that features decorated floats, colorful costumes with music and dance from the various ethnic groups. And this is a trait that is quite typical. We'll be seeing another similar thing in the next case study that we are going on to. So this is a case study that is dear to me because it's my country of origin. So we'll be looking at the African case study, Ghana. So in coastal Ghana, the ocean influence is evident in the traditional spiritual belief and conservation practices, also in their culinary and cultural traditions. So the fishing traditions which involved the ingenious ways of harvesting fish using techniques that have been adapted and passed on over the generations, actually embody how fisherfolk are interacting with the oceans, because they go and they use the method. If they harvest fish, they adapt and they keep adapting because they want to also keep getting back from the oceans. As part of this tradition, we have the fisherfolk displaying their traditional marine ecological knowledge, where their experience and their knowledge of the oceans has helped them to know where to fish, where to get the best fish at the time of the year. And they are able to use stars and phenomena like the currents and the tides to arrange and schedule their fishing parties. Talking about festivals, which seems to be a common trend around Africa, we have a few festivals that are greatly linked with the ocean. The first is the Abuachir Festival of the people of Winneba. The second is the Homoa Festival of the people of the Greater Accra, where I come from, and the Elmina Bakatue Festival. So the scenes in the frame here are from the Elmina Bakatue Festival, where you see vibrantly dressed people in colorful outfit riding canoes, doing regatta, canoe races to celebrate the ocean and its bountiful harvest of fish that they've been blessed with. Earlier, I also mentioned that Ghana has a sacred non-fishing day. So this non-fishing day is widely observed on Tuesday, although some communities might have it on alternative days. But within the week, there is always a day that they do not go fishing. So while it may seem that this is a traditional or a spiritual belief, it actually has ecological purposes, and it helps reinforce reverence for the ocean and also prevents overfishing. Ghanaians love their seafood, and food is actually part of the tradition of people. And my favorite, kenke and fried fish with shrimps, which is depicted in the image down to the right, reflects how gracious the ocean is to the people of Ghana. And it's a staple in a diet. Fish is a staple in the Ghanaian diet. So just to recap some of the similar themes or the common threads that run along Africa, as we have just taken a short tour around Africa, we see celebrations being tied greatly to oceans. We see rituals, either rituals of healing, cleansing. We see the rich food. We see livelihoods centered on fishing, fish processing, trading, among others. We see the myth, the folklore, the taboos, the stories that serve both spiritual as well as ecological purposes. I have a short quote that I want you to reflect on. Dr. Muagabu Ragoosha, she is an oceanography lecturer at the University of Cape Town, as well as a traditional divine healer. And she says, we must teach people why oceans are important, even if they live inland, far from the sea. We must explain the connections to climate, drought, and rain, and how that affects them wherever they are. So what she is saying is actually drawing highlights on the interconnections between the oceans and the terrestrial, as well as the aerial. Not separate, is actually one global big ecosystem. So it appears that we want to reflect on how tradition and contemporary science, one may think, oh, traditional science is traditional, it doesn't have any similarities with contemporary science, or for you to ascertain the effectiveness of a method, it needs to be backed by science. But looking at it, there is actually a growing global focus to synergize indigenous or traditional knowledge with scientific knowledge because of the nuance effect or the nuance contributions that traditional knowledge offers and brings to the table, so that we can harness the advantages of both bodies of knowledge. And the interlinkage between cultural heritage, ocean stewardship, and conservation is actually being highlighted more and more in literature and in research. So it appears that rather than replacing one body of knowledge with the other, it is better to synergize two bodies of knowledge to get a greater impact for sustainability. So a few recommended action paths. It's quite a lot, but just bear with me here. The first is collaborative research programs. You might know of a few of them, but I just want to point out one here. In New Zealand, the Maori's Mataungara program combines traditional knowledge with scientific research to help protect marine species. I know there may be countless other collaborative research programs out there, and I'm happy to hear some of them after our interaction. But for the sake of time, I just want to touch on a few of them and we move on. A second recommended action path is policy implementation. And in Australia, the integration of Aboriginal sea country management practices alongside scientists has actually helped lead to more effective protection of the Great Barrier Reef. A third recommended action path is digital preservation. In our conversation, I mentioned earlier that some of this knowledge is being passed down through oral traditions. That is their mode or the vehicle of preservation. But if the person who has all this knowledge, the elder, should pass on or should travel, that body of knowledge is lost. And in this era where we have technology, it is actually good to try to capture some of this knowledge digitally through storytelling, through social media, through interactive databases, through mobile apps, through virtual reality, through documentaries, you name them. And this will help to make such knowledge more accessible, to help transfer it from one generation to another and make it more effective in integrating it with scientific knowledge. A fourth recommended action path is to include fisher folk, both youth, both male, female, in all engagements, and not to see them that, oh, these people are local, in quotes, what do they know? And as is often termed, that you think because you're a researcher, because you're a scientist, you want to go and do your scientist thing, but actually they are the custodians of the land and the knowledge. So sidelining them is actually at your detriment. It's actually better to include them. And at this point, I want to take the opportunity to spotlight the creating synergies between indigenous practice and scientific knowledge that is being led by Dr. Ife Sinachi Okafor-Yarwood, to which my PhD contributes to. And this ISIPSIC project is actually collaborating with fisherfolk in Ghana in an inclusive research way so that we can leverage the fisherfolk knowledge to help impact marine policy towards conservation. And a few acknowledgements. I mentioned earlier Dr. Ife Sinachi. She's my academic advisor. I also want to acknowledge Dr. Tim Stojanovic and all the fisherfolk that have engaged with the past years of my working. Without their sharing of their knowledge, without them opening up to share their lives with me, I wouldn't have had this much poured into me to be able to also pour out to all of you. And to wrap up, I just want to leave you with a few food for thought. The first is the ocean is like a big blue heart that connects all living creatures. We must protect it for the sake of our own survival. The second one is we are tied to the ocean, whether we go back to the sea, and when we go back to the sea, or whether it is to sail or to watch, just like I love going to the beaches, it is because we are going back to where we came from. Thank you. And if there are any comments or any questions, I'm happy to take them at this point.
Thank you so much, Josephine, for your insightful and rich presentation. You've reminded us how traditions and indigenous knowledge are our guide. They remain, of course, the living and tangible way to see how the ocean is important to us, but also you went from the global to the regional importance of the ocean, of the cultures, of the traditions related to that. Of course, we have forgotten to mention that you were able also to, let's say, weave or connect our daily life to the principles of ocean literacy, especially the sixth one, which is the impact that we have on the ocean, but also its importance to our daily lives. So thank you very much for this presentation.
Yeah.
I think for many of us it was an important lecture and an important recall. So thank you so much. And of course, at this point, if anyone has a question, an insight, I would like to share something, please, the floor is yours.
Okay, Sophia, I think it would be good I go back to my presentation again so
Sure,
we
please.
can
Let
introduce
me just stop
Josephine.
sharing.
Okay, yeah, perfect. So we can introduce Josephine very well. Okay, so I
Mm,
share the screen. Then please, if you have questions to the speaker, please always use the chat box to do that. Thank you. So I just do that now. So can you see it?
Not yet.
I think you should now.
Yes, now we can see it. If you can move to the slide related to the question, please, Chris.
Okay.
And let's give some time for reactions, maybe. Or if anyone has an insight about its national connection or how their local communities at their national level also connect to the ocean, it will be also important for us to know. I can see Urgas is here, so if you have something related to Liberia, I would be happy to to hear from you. Oh, Urgas, if you want, you can write it and we can read it.
Okay, hello.
Yes, we can hear you. Hi, Urgas. My pleasure to see you here.
Fine, thank you, Sophia, and thank you for the webinar and also all of those who have put this unique conversation together. Well, as it relates to Liberia and our own relationship with the ocean, because we have a coastline of almost close to 350 mile coastal area coastline. And the ocean has actually been a sort of benefit to all, like the presenter have mentioned, especially when it comes to the livelihood. Even though I don't live very close to the ocean, but from where I live and my time growing up, we have enjoyed life with the ocean, especially when it comes to amusement. Where growing up, I was always close to the beach and maybe try and getting myself familiar with swimming, but unfortunately, there was a time where I nearly got drowned, and then since then I've cut off my affiliation with the ocean. I just don't easily go too close by because I don't want to be tempted. But however, I mean the ocean is quite unique to us, and we appreciate the ocean. We appreciate how much we love the ocean, especially when it comes to provision of foodstuff for us. So, I mean, it's a good thing that we keep our ocean preserved and find as a way of life for us. So that's my own contribution, how much we appreciate the ocean to us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Urias. Anyone else who wants to share something? Okay, I will briefly do. So, for example, here in Morocco, to represent a little bit North Africa, our people are really also connected to the ocean. So, one of the examples are reflected in our religion. For example, the water is sacred in Islam because I will try to translate a verse. It says that we created life from water. So since the ocean is a big part, or is 71 to 72% of water, so we really respect it, and we also for us it is important because since it is mysterious, we still don't know. One of the principles of ocean literacy is that we only know 25% of what is under the ocean. And since it's also mysterious, so it also brings several emotions such as fear, respect. So we can see that also in our culture. And another dimension is also reflected in our music. So for example, we have a genre called Gnawa, another one called Aita Marsawiya, which are basically defining the relation that humans have with the ocean. It depends on transportation, on the trade, but also in the rhythm that we hear. It just recalls the sounds of the waves. So those are all the different aspects that we can see in different culture, just to add. So if we don't have any other addition, maybe it's time to move to our second speaker. Next slide, please. So first of all, thank you again, Josephine, for your presentation, and thank you, Urias, for your reflection. And now that we have seen how traditions shape sustainable practices, the question that we can ask is, if science give the ocean numbers, who give it a voice? And that will bring us to our second speaker, who is Ikenna Ebin Idika, known as the poet of the seven seas. We will try to ask him why. And Ikenna is both a marine engineer.
Excuse me, Sophia. Sorry for
Yes,
cutting you.
sure.
I didn't know that there was a question from Eduardo Ferreira.
Oh, sure, sure.
I just saw
You
it
can.
now, so I'm so sorry.
No,
So
no worries.
can I read it out or can you
Yes,
see it?
please.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a question from Eduardo Ferreira. Um, he says, we have carried a lot of myths and rituals created a long time ago. Should we try and create new stories and myths for the present? What do you think, Josephine?
I would say actually there is this expression, there is nothing new under the sun. What we think is new is actually something that was, and it's finding its way into being again. So maybe instead of trying to invent new things, we can actually look back to the past and see what is in the past that we can take out as useful nuggets to move forward with. So that is what's the little that I'll share. Rather than creating new, let's see what the past holds, or lessons or the nuggets in the past that we can, should I say, resurrect or revive to learn from and move forward with.
Okay, any interaction, Eduardo? If you want, you can also turn on your mic. Or do you have your answer to your question? So we can move to our second speaker. Yeah, sure. Thank you, Eduardo, for confirming. So now, as we were introducing prior, we're moving to our second speaker, who is the poet of the seven seas. As I was saying, Ikenna is both a marine engineer and a poet from Nigeria. And through his poems, he gives the ocean a voice, reflecting the resilience of seafarers and connecting human emotions to the life of the sea. He will also share with us ocean literacy and poems. What's the relationship? So, Ikenna, welcome, and the stage and the floor is yours.
Okay. Thank you, Josephine, and sorry. Thank you, Sophia, and thank you, Chris, and Josephine. Thank you very much. It was a very, very nice presentation, and I also want to thank ICOP for this great opportunity because it's something that comes once in a while, and I'm always glad to have this kind of opportunity where I can share, some of my knowledge and some of the things I know, and I really, really appreciate this opportunity. So I really thank you people for organizing a program like this so that we can get to share our ideas and see the way we can be able to preserve our ocean, preserve everything that has to do with our life. Thank you very much. So just like Sophia said, my name is Ikenna Ebin Idika, and I'm from Nigeria, and I am a seafarer by profession. And I'm a seafarer by profession. So I'll just talk a little bit about myself and how poetry has been able to shape my life and how I've been able to use poetry to try to talk about things and try to give a voice to things like the ocean, like seafarers and all those stuff. So for me, poetry is just that lock up the voice inside of us. Okay. Sometimes you are just there trying to, there's some this kind of voice that you can't really say it out, but it's just there within your mind, within your brain, and it's just roaming around and you don't know how to let it out. So I usually have this kind of voices in my ears, like I just try to, how do I let this thing out? So that was where the point where poetry comes in, and I started, writing the things that comes to my mind, those voices, those things that comes to my mind. I try to put them out. So talking about writing about for the sea, I'm from Nigeria and I'm from the Igbo, and we are not riverine people. Okay, so there's no way you will say that, oh, what actually drew my attention to the ocean? So because we are not from the riverine, I'm not from the riverine area. But I was born in a riverine area. I'm not really riverine per se, but I was born around there, so I could see the river banks, and I always like to go there because I just want to experience a different life. But African parents, they will not want you to go there, especially when my cousin when my cousin lost his life at while he was trying to fish. So anything about the river we were was out of bound for us. But I had my father who was also working on the river as a trader. He trades, all mostly just these West African countries. So I drew my inspiration there. I never even knew I would become a seafarer because I wanted to become a doctor. But life has its way, and I became a seafarer, and I just grew in love with the profession. And and poetry has helped my life because I try to give a voice to everything around me. So now talking about the ocean, as a seafarer, there are annexes that governs us, that regulations. And the one of them, the topmost one of them, which is very, very important, very, very vital, has to do with marine pollution. And when it has to do with marine pollution, when we talk about the sea, which is the International Maritime Organization Annex 1, that's the MARPO, we call it MARPO, marine pollution. So marine pollution regulation, Annex 1, talks about pollution at sea, like pollution at sea. So when you talk about this pollution at sea, what comes to your mind? And being from Africa, most times when my ship comes to Lagos, or we are sailing to Togo or to Benin Republic or towards Ghana, there's something always different about our our oceans, and it looks as if we don't take care of our oceans just like the way people outside do. It looks as if the regulations we don't really follow them. We just tend to live our life, and we forget that this ocean is actually our source of livelihood. And the story of Africa cannot be told without the ocean, because from um, the ocean is the memory that stores. For me, if I should put it in poetic terms, I would say that the ocean is the memory that stores our existence. Everything we are looking for is in the ocean. Our history is in the ocean. Our story is in the ocean. So we cannot really talk about Africa without mentioning the ocean. Talking about the slave trade, the transatlantic slave trade, talking about you know um, goods, how everything, how our languages have been changed, how talking about the colonial era. So you cannot say these things without the ocean. And one thing I also want us to know that 90% of the world's economy relies on the ocean also. So if we cannot protect this ocean, which is also our heritage, so how then are we going to live life? Because the ocean itself is the source of life. So that being said, I won't want to say too much. So I would just want to talk about the ocean and how it relates to poetry, or the relation between poetry and the ocean. So I'll be just sharing a short slide of about just five slides. So I hope you okay. Let me just try if you can see it. Please, once you see, just let me know. I hope you can see my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, the screen is up.
Okay, okay. I hope I'm not talking too fast because I get that a lot. Maybe some people say I talk too fast. I hope you can hear me clearly.
Loud and clear.
Okay, so now ocean literacy, poetry and ocean literacy. So how does this ocean relate to poetry? So what can we really talk about poetry? How does it relate entirely? Now, being Africans, we know that there are so many things we do. Both our adage, both our songs, all of them have a word, have these wordings of poetry, have these rhymes. So there's always a way poetry can be always related to the ocean. But first of all, before we can actually dive deep into this, we need to know what poetry really means. So now, in simple terms, when talking about poetry, we can say poetry is a form of creative writing that contains some particular elements such as verse, rhymes, and stanzas. But one thing you have to know about poetry is that it has to be intentional. Okay, if you are writing a particular rhymes, let's assume when you're writing about a rhyme, so you have to make it intentional. It's not just your day-to-day word, just like the way I'm talking now. I'm talking, there's no rhyme, there's no stanza, there's no this. So poetry has to come with intentionality. You have to be intentional while um, while writing your poetry. So you have to be intentional about the verses, about the stanza. So it must be intentional while you are doing that. So, and how can poetry help express a deep emotional connection in Africa? How can poetry help us? So, poetry conveys a strong, um, deep emotional feeling that expresses our great inspiration and can speak to the human spirit and soul. Normally, they normally say that music is for the soul, but poetry itself is also for the soul and also for the spirit, because poetry has a way to command attention, both for your command attention also to your body. So poetry itself has a deep connection. Like for instance, do you know that in most of our rituals, like for those who are for those who are traditionalists, okay, you see them when they are doing some of their incantations, most of them are actually poetry, but you may not notice it because you are not the one who is directly involved. But when you see them making these incantations, making the incantations to maybe to the goddess of the sea, the goddess of the river, and all those stuff. So mostly it is poetry. So if you understand their language, so poetry can actually be in any language, can actually be in English, can actually be in Igbo, in Swahili, it can actually be in Zulu. So, but it has to be intentional. So it is the intentionality of the verse, the stanzas, that's what makes it poetry. So now, what's the connection between the ocean and poetry? Number one, poetry can be used for storytelling. Okay, like for instance, where I come from Ohofia. I'm from the Igbo speaking, I like the Igbo speaking tribe, Ohofia. So there is this traditional dance we have, and it's called the Ohofia War Dance. You can check it out maybe on YouTube. It's a kind of popular dance where they carry human skull and they dance. So when you listen to their rhymes, when you listen to if you understand the Ohofia language, you will know that they are speaking poetry. Okay, it tells a story a of a people who migrated from somewhere to somewhere to somewhere to become who they are today. So poetry has a way of telling stories. So poetry also, number two, poetry is also a social can be used for social commentary in connection to Africa. You can use, like for instance, there are so many things that are happening in our waters. You know, for instance, if you come to Nigeria, to the Niger Delta part, you see that there are so many pollutions that are happening in our waters, and poetry can help give a voice that can speak against these things that are happening in our society. So poetry is that voice that can speak to anybody. For instance, somebody can just come on the list and start saying, "Oh, they polluted our water," and that has been going on, and people will be protesting. But when you use poetry and somebody listens to it, it has a way of bringing somebody's humanity back, because there is a time that our conscience are being shut out. So once our conscience are being shut out, we don't tend to, we tend to forget that we are humans, and things we do can actually affect our fellow human beings. But poetry has a way of reversing our mindset and bringing it back to the factory setting, which is our humanity, that will make you have a consciousness that whatsoever you are going to do or whatsoever you are about to do will affect your neighbor. Okay? So now, poetry, which is my number three, can also be used to express your personal expression. Remember, when I started, I talked about saying that there's this voice that is always locked up in you, that you always want people to hear you out. Like, for instance, there are some people who are depressed and they don't know how to they don't know how to say it out. They don't know how to talk. They don't know how to, tell people what they are going through. You can actually pen them down in express them via poetry. Like I always have this there's this friend of mine, the daughter, anytime her father punishes her, or anytime she does something wrong and she wishes to apologize, she doesn't know how to come and say, "Oh, I apologize." You see her taking pen and paper, she'll start writing everything that is on her mind and how she's sorry and how she won't do it again. But for her to say it in her mouth, she can't say it. So poetry can help us express our deep feelings, because so most of the time we can actually talk without thinking. But poetry will help you to write while thinking. Whatever you are thinking, you can be able to write it right. So that um, poetry will help you not to be beguiled. Like how would I put it? Poetry will also help you not to be found guilty, because most of the times when we want to, let's for instance, for social commentary, you might just get angry about things that are happening in the society, and you just want to let out, the annoyance, everything in you. And like for instance, in Nigeria, we have this social media bill where you just go and type things on social media. They might likely sue you to court for all those things. But with poetry will help you to structure your words in a way that it will hit the conscience and reset the human brain to be able to, to adjust themselves to do things rightly. So now, the roles poetry play in ocean literacy and conservation. So what can poetry do in ocean literacy? How can it conserve? How can we protect our oceans? How can we change the norms or change the things that have been happening around us? Now, poetry can be used to create awareness. You know, poetry can be used to create awareness. For instance, there have been so many awareness that have been created. Like if you go through, taking, for instance, all these genital mutilations, that's happening in Africa, and all these, let's say, what's it called, other environmental hazards. They have been talking about things, but concerning the ocean, I hardly see people who talk about, preserving the ocean, protecting the ocean. So me being a seafarer, and when I go around other places and I see how they put laws to protect their ocean. And I'm just like, why can't we do the same thing in Africa? Imagine you go to maybe somewhere in Europe and you polluting their water or putting oil or pollution that's marine pollution by oil, that's you pumping oil into the sea or polluting their waters with oil or with any toxic chemical. You have a fine to pay for it. But mostly in our African countries, all these things happened and nobody really cares. There's no strong law or there's no strong enforcement of these laws to protect our waters. So with poetry, we can create awareness, and that's mostly what I do with my poetry work, to create awareness. Oh, this is what is happening. I come in the voice of the ocean, like I say, okay, this is the ocean speaking through me. okay? Giving the ocean a voice to speak. Because if you are waiting for the ocean to speak, the ocean will not speak because nobody will say, hey, you'll say, oh, the ocean is not a living thing. So because it cannot speak. So, but I am coming in the voice of the ocean to create awareness that this is what is happening to the ocean. The ocean is crying. The ocean is all emotion about all this. We are destroying the ocean. So, what thing helps create that awareness about whatsoever you want to do, not just about the ocean. It helps create awareness of whatever you are going through, of what is happening around our world, of just to create awareness. You can actually use poetry. Like most of people, the ones we are conversant is using poetry as a kind of like for love, all these love poems and all those stuff. But poetry has much more to do. That's why I say poetry can be used to create awareness. Okay. Now, another thing, poetry can be used for storytelling. You can use poetry to talk about how our existence. Actually, it's actually a poem I was working at, I was writing about how the ocean. I'm not done with the poem yet, but it has to do with the ocean, like how um everything we have, how the ocean, how things came through the ocean and changed our livelihood and changed who we are and changed who we are, taking us out from who we were. So poetry can be used for storytelling, and it can also be used as an educational tool. You know, when we were growing up, we were taught poetry. In Nigeria here, we have these subjects in primary school that's normally literature and poems. So we asked to memorize poems like Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, How I Wonder What You Are. We memorize those poems. So poetry can be used as an educational tool where we use, to help children and if we can actually catch these children young, like I loved poetry when I was younger, but most of the time teachers will be saying, "Oh, maybe you're not good at this, maybe you're not good at this." I just got to know that I had this passion after I had become a seafarer. Like even when I was in secondary school, I was like I couldn't join the poetry group. Why? Because I felt because they told me you cannot do this. Why? Because I was not too much outspoken, just like every other person. But I came to know that I had this passion for poetry when I had already become a seafarer. And you see, if we can enhance our educational system with poetry, it will really go a long way to speak against all the things, social wrongdoings that's happening in our country, and speak against all the moral decadence that's happening in our society. So now, poetry can make ocean literacy easy, and it can connect people of all religion, background, and race. Poetry is not something that can be said is just for a particular people. Poetry is not just for Christians, it's not for Muslims, it's not for traditionalists, it's not for people who are Hindu, who are Buddhist, it's not for people who are Nigerian, not for but everybody can read. Poetry is something that does not have a religion, doesn't have a nationality, doesn't have a race. You can't say poetry is black, you can't say poetry is white, you can't say poetry is a Christian or a Muslim. But poetry will come to you as a human. It comes with our humanity and it will touch your spirit without you associating yourself to any of these social tags like Christian, Muslim. Poetry does not have a gender. Okay, poetry is just there. It's just there. It doesn't need you to give it a tag to belong to anybody. It doesn't need your permission to be able to access your soul. Once you hear it, you will be able to, relate with the message it is passing. So with this few, it's just a short stuff so that to prepare your mind, so that you'll be able to know the next. I'm going to present a poem. This poem is just all about, it's talking about uh, I wrote the poem as me being the ocean. Like while I was writing the poem, I tried to, come see myself as being the ocean and see myself the activities that have been done around me and how has it affected me and how will I use it to affect humans? Because whatever we give the ocean gives us back. So it's just like garbage in, garbage out. So whatever you give the ocean will give it back to you in 100 folds. And we know that the ocean we came here and met the ocean. So we will leave and we will still leave the ocean. So the ocean is something that is constant. So like in mathematics, they say it's a constant. So the ocean is just constant. So whatever we do will affect the next generation coming. So that is why we have to protect the ocean so that our humanity will be preserved. So I will just be sharing the next one will now be the poem, and I believe it should be able to, change our perspective and help us to protect the ocean in our own little capacity. So thank you very much, and I'll be sharing the poem in a bit. Okay. Okay. Please confirm if you can see my screen. You can see my screen, right? Okay. Also, let me know if you can hear the sound.
If the oceans could speak, if the waves had a voice, would we still harm or ignore its cries? If we could hear the sounds of the sea, if we could understand the rhythm of its crest and trough, would we respect or adore it? Listen, let me speak the tongue of the ocean. I am the ocean, vast and wide. I am the earth's life-giving tide, teeming with life of every kind. I link the nations of the earth from the deep. I give shelter to the aquatic, a world which I keep. I carry your ships and never complain. I give you food, air, and even a beautiful view beyond compare. Yet, you treat me with disgrace. Heads up, let me speak. I gave you no restrictions to explore me. I gave you the treasures of the deep within me. I never overflowed my set bounds to your lands. I never rebelled against any of your plans. From your clans, you pollute me by dumping plastics, cans, oil, and chemical waste. In a careless haste, you stain my crown. You want me to smile and not frown? Do I seem like a clown? Just to remind you, the earth spins round and round. Play with me like a merry-go-round. You will get back what you give me in rounds. I am a cheerful giver. I am the ocean. I live without an end. What is your obligation? Tell me by your action. Are you a fool or a friend? Now you have the opportunity. Now let me speak in a common tongue. Not for long. The earth was given to us to dwell in. Our ocean is a source of life. Our obligation is to keep it safe, because out of it comes our opportunity, not just to live, but to come together to protect it.
Okay, so talking about the ocean, so we can see. I'm sorry, I was supposed to share one more poem. I was supposed to share one more poem. So sorry. Hello. So sorry, I was supposed to share one more poem, but my phone screen crashed this morning. So this one was the one I had as a backup. So what we are talking about is that the ocean itself has a vital role to play in our life, and I believe with this little presentation, I've been able to make a point, and I believe we'll be able to protect our oceans more. Thank you very much. My name is Ikenna Ebin Idika. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ikenna, for your presentation, for showing us and sharing with us your art, for recalling also the fact that ocean literacy is an outcome because we want to generate this awareness among people, among youth, among coastal communities, and for reminding us that ocean literacy is an outcome, but ocean education, and we have other tools that we can use, and one of them is poetry and poem. Thank you so much for sharing. And I don't know if we have an insight. Maybe you want to share your emotion after seeing this poem, these beautiful images, but also the truth and the wisdom behind those words. So please feel free to share your insights. We are waiting for it. Um, I think we have just a little request from Urias before the insights. Urias mentioned or asked if we can have from the presenter a questionnaire template that we can use in a research relating to this discussion. I think it was for Josephine's presentation. I don't know.
I think Urias, we have a poll after the section, so I think I would also share that with you also, and the current webinar, the current questionnaire that we already have with ECOP. Then I think that would be also good.
Okay, sure, Chris. So if anyone has an insight about Ikenna's presentation, poem, or what do you think about it? How do you want to encourage him also to maybe share his second poem with us? So please feel free.
Yeah, I guess that was a great presentation, and I've already seen reactions from people, Abigail, Urias, and the other people who used the reaction. It would also be good when you also make comments, so we know that truly you really appreciate it, because we can't see the people who are giving the reactions. So, but if there are no more reactions, I think, Sophia, we can go because of the time to the
Okay.
polls.
In that case, as we were mentioning at the beginning of the webinar, we have a poll for you. So we are counting on your reaction, interaction to answer those questions. So please be active. We have some comments also from Josephine, from Fawn, and Abigail. Thank you so much for your reaction. And they were just celebrating your art, Ikenna, and congratulating you.
Thank you very much.
So, thank you so much, Ikenna. That was really beautiful and amazing for analyzing poems and linking it up with ocean literacy. And it's one of the effective tools that we are using to design some of our academic, some of our educational curriculums for young people in Africa. And as this is good, Josephine and the Ikenna, we would always have you in any of our programs and projects that will be coming up, especially the ABCA curriculum that is coming up. So with that, I will have to share the polls now. And Sophia, I think you should hand over. I don't know how many minutes we can. I can't even see the polls here. Guatemala.
Let me.
Oh, okay, I can see it now.
Mhm.
Okay, I share now. So okay, so I'm launching the polls now. Sophia, you can take over. I don't know how many minutes we all have for this.
You'll have 10 minutes for the poll and to close up. So that means that maybe, depending on the question, maybe we can give 3 to 4 minutes to go over the poll so we can discuss it and wrap up.
Then if it's not showing, you can scroll up. If you're using your phone or your laptop, you can be able to scroll up to the next one, the next one, the next one.
Just a quick one. It's not allowing me to select. I'm not able to click. I can scroll, but I can't choose an answer.
Okay,
Okay,
maybe
I'm
because
Hosts and panelists cannot vote.
yes,
yeah.
I think so. Hosts and panelists cannot vote.
But maybe what we can do is that our hosts or our panelists and speaker can comment their answer to the poll towards the end.
That works.
I think many people said they cannot. Um,
Oh,
Ewube says she cannot see the polls.
I have a question. Is it the fact that you cannot directly answer, Ewube, or it's not showing?
Wait, let me give her the opportunity to talk.
Hello. Thank you so much, Chris. I cannot answer. I can see the poll. It's a poll in progress, but when I click on it, it's not functional. Yeah. Thank
Okay.
you.
So maybe in that case, what we can do is just asking the question and having your direct answers in order to optimize some time, if you're okay with it.
Very okay.
Okay, thank you, Ewube. So in that case, you're okay with it, Chris?
Yes, I'm okay with it. Why the rest who can take the post can actually continue? Because
So,
already I'm seeing responses.
okay. So in that case, we go with the first question, which is, how strongly do you feel connected to the ocean through your cultural background or heritage? We have very strongly, somewhat connected, slightly connected, or not connected at all. Ewube, would you like to begin answering this
I'm
question?
strongly connected.
Sorry?
Do I need a justification? I'm strongly connected. Do I need to justify?
How? How do you esteem that you are strongly
Okay.
connected?
I grew up in a rural community where we used to go across the river, a small river for fishing and farming. And after that, my parents relocated to a town which is close to the ocean as well. So paddling, being around the ocean, watching the fishermen do their activities was part of my growing life. Not until I got the degree to move out to a town now that is far away from the ocean. So I feel belong around the ocean. I know how to paddle the boat. I know how to do basic fishing and all that. It was really fun for us. So I think that's why I'm strongly. And now I do activities around ocean conservation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ewube, for your insights. Does anyone else want to share directly their answer? Or we can move to the second question. Okay, let's move to the second one. We still have 1 minute for people who want to answer the poll. So the second one is, which aspect of African coastal traditions resonates most with you when thinking about the ocean? Rituals and ceremonies, storytelling and folklore, music, dance and art, spiritual symbolism, fishing and coastal livelihoods. I think we forgot an answer, Chris, because we also have
I think fishing and ocean livelihood. Fishing and ocean livelihood.
okay.
I think
Joseph,
any other person that wants to talk, they can raise their hands, then I can allow them. I would look at it from here. Already some people are already finished. Okay. Sophia, I think maybe the possibility is let's take the questions and conclude them at once. So we
okay,
take the questions, the answer, then you can conclude it. Yeah.
sure. So can we see the results from the poll?
Okay, I'm coming up. Sorry, I had to log in with my second account, so I'm actually filling the post too. Sorry, I had to cheat.
Maybe
All
just
right.
if you want to share also, how do you feel most?
Okay, I will. I if maybe I should end the post, then we can see the result, right?
Yeah, please.
Okay, I do that now. So if everyone agrees, let me have a thumb up in the reaction. If everyone agrees to that, if I have lots of thumb up. Okay, someone said not yet. Someone said not yet. Found said not yet.
Okay, found will give you.
Okay, she said we should give her some few time. Okay, okay.
We'll
Okay.
give you maybe 2 minutes because we are supposed to wrap up in 5.
Minutes.
So maybe meanwhile, Josephine or Ikenna, if you want to share your answer related to one of those questions, it's more than welcome. maybe the second one on how you connect the most with the ocean, or how or which traditional practice do you think could be or could best inspire modern sustainable ocean stewardship? Choose whatever question you want and give us your insights.
Well, for me, number two, which aspect of African coastal tradition resonates most with you when you think about the ocean? For me, I would take storytelling and folklore and music, dance, and art. That's for me. Okay.
Thank you, Ikenna. How about you, Josephine?
I said for me, fishing and coastal livelihoods, because my work revolves a lot around fisher folk. So, and as part of their fishing, also there is rituals and ceremonies and a bit of music in there, because as they are working, they start singing the song. So it's a mix of everything, but mainly fishing and coastal livelihoods.
So much, Josephine. I don't know if by now everyone has answered to the poll. Maybe we can get a thumbs up. Okay, found completed it. So maybe Chris, it's time to show off the results.
Okay, I end the polls now. So I share the result.
So, for the first question, how strongly do you feel connected to the ocean through your cultural background or heritage? We can see that the majority is very strongly connected, and Ewube shared with us part of the answer why she feels connected with it. But then we have also, if we count, 16% who don't really feel this connection. So maybe this shows the importance of ocean literacy, of ocean education, of translating the data, translating the reports, but also embracing our cultures and traditions when it comes to ocean in order to make those people feel more connected. For the second question, we have, which aspect of African coastal traditions resonates most with you when thinking about the ocean? So apparently no one selected rituals and ceremonies, which is curious, but we have close responses when it comes to storytelling and folklore, music, dance, and art. Then the first one, of course, is fishing and coastal livelihood, and then spiritual symbolism. So we believe that these answers reflects the fact that people understand, or they can see and feel the relation and the connection to the ocean when it comes to living, hearing, and stimulating all the senses in a way that brings the ocean towards them. So through storytelling, we are hearing the stories that happen in the story in the ocean. Through music, dance, we can feel it. Through spiritual symbolism, we also can feel it, but it also brings up our emotions, our conscience, our obligation towards the nature and towards the ocean, and also the respect that we must have towards it. And of course, fishing and coastal livelihood, because we can see it, we can admire it, and we can also see all the resilience and the connection that people have and create through the ocean, because it's not just human and ocean, but human between them and the ocean, and all the intersections that we have between them. For the third question we have, do you believe traditional knowledge and cultural practices should play a stronger role in modern ocean conservation? And more than half of our audience said that yes, definitely. Others mentioned that, but only alongside scientific approaches. And then some people are neutral and unsure. And I think that this brings up again the question mentioned by, let me see, your name, Eduardo, which is about this duality of having traditional knowledge, but at the same time, the scientific and technical development. So, here we can see that there is this weight of including our tradition and where we come from, but also without forgetting that we are in an evolutive society, so we also need to bring up the technology and the scientific data in order to answer future questions and be able to adapt and mitigate the risks. For the fourth question, we have which traditional practice do you think could be best or could best inspire modern sustainable ocean stewardship? We have seasonal fishing taboos and restriction as one of the majority answers. The second one is community-led ocean protection customs, which is 85%, really relevant, and storytelling as education, of course. So maybe, Josephine, do you want to add something related to this question?
My response would have also been maybe a mix of everything, because the seasonal fishing taboos are actually ingrained in science, where we have marine protected areas, closed fishing seasons, and we have the traditional version of it. But most importantly, these conservation tools are being done for or on local people. So implementing it for them or on them without their involvement will feel like a top-down approach, which for years we know it's not been so much effective in certain regards. But for them to feel a part of it, for them to feel an ownership, for them to be custodians, to take it up as their own, to have a stake in it, is better for us to involve them. So I would now come to the community-led ocean protection customs, because when they understand the need to protect these ecosystems, they would be willing. They'll be like, no, this is our ecosystem, don't dump rubbish here. So I think I would touch on the seasonal fishing taboos and restrictions, as well as the community-led ocean protection customs. The sacred coastal sites or rituals have a slight connection with the restrictions, because once it's a sacred place, you are not allowed to go there. So that one is quite blurry for me, but I will still add it to the list of things to touch on. Education is an important thing, because the more we educate people, the more we raise awareness, to understand why there is a need to conserve and protect the oceans, just as we are having this webinar here. So everything together, I would say yes.
Thank you so much for your insights. Now moving to the fifth question is, do you think younger generations are losing touch with traditional ocean knowledge and practices? And 46% answered yes, very much. Other 38% said somewhat. Maybe we can take someone from the floor to explain why they think that younger generation are disconnected with traditional knowledge. I would like to hear from you, especially that since we are ECOPS, early career ocean professionals, some of us are young, others not that much, but we try also through series such as webinars like this to bring together science, to bring together traditional and local knowledge, and to show you how actually traditional knowledge are really connected to the ocean. But it would be great if we can hear from you a short intervention about why do you think youth is not really connected to tradition?
Okay, if you want to answer, just raise your hands, then I can allow you to speak. Yep.
Do we have any hint?
Okay, I think I see one person. Yeah, allow. Good. Yeah, you are allowed to speak now.
Thank you very much for allowing me to reflect on the question. So, as our parents actually, as our I am from Bangladesh. I need to say that I'm from Bangladesh, and I have joined in this in this webinar to know about the ocean literacy practice that is happening in the Africa. So in my country's perspective, that most of the people of the coastal area, they live by fishing activities, and they are, I haven't heard about any ritual activities or other these kind of things related to ocean, but there are these kind of water body related activities in Bangladesh, mainly related to river. So the stories, folklores, these and that are not actually common in Bangladesh in relations to ocean, as I know, but in the perspective of this knowledge, the people that have scattered around the country from their actual native home, they do not carry the history of their tradition, of their I think their culture, and they do not actually bring that to their children. Actually, they feel that these stories, this education is not actually necessary, and that's why I think I have to mention that Bangladesh, in the Bangladeshi education system, we have no ocean literacy practice that has been implemented yet in the school system. We have education on the ocean literacy in universities, but not in the school level. So the problem is there is people actually don't know about ocean that much, so they do not have any stories and they do not pass on to their children. This is basically, I think, about this. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ashimur. Ikenna, you want to share something with us?
Yeah, I think for this number five, I think majorly in Africa, people are actually losing interest because of lack of documentation. Okay, because we don't really document our processes in Nigeria, our traditional knowledge about things, talking about medicine, about this thing, like all those stuff we do. All we do mostly in Africa is to, transfer the knowledge we know orally. And we know that most things that are transferred orally tends to die with the person it is transferred to, if it is not transferred to the next person. So I believe if in Africa we try to document our knowledge, try to document our practices, just like most of the people in the Western world, we should be able to, come up with something good. So, and I think with that, people will not be able to lose touch, or people will not be able to lose interest, because you will gain interest when you read more and you want to know more and you want to explore more. But you want to explore more and there's no resources for you to explore more. So how would you not lose interest? So you definitely lose interest if there is nothing, if there are no research materials for you to explore more. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ikenna, for sharing your thought. And I think that it's very important because, like, if you see the development of technologies and discovering what's behind the waves and what's underneath the sea, we can see that from now on we are a lot into mapping the seabed, for example. But at the same time, we still need to map our knowledge, our traditions, and our heritage as well, because someone said that we cannot protect and we cannot love what we don't know. So in order to be able to really know and to share and to protect, conserve, and all the verbs that are related to our beloved ocean, we really need to map and to be aware of what's happening behind our stories as humans and as Africans with the ocean. So thank you so much for your insight. Um, Moving now to the sixth point, or to the sixth question, is do you consider the ocean a sacred or spiritual space? And 46% says yes, always. Others think that sometimes, and it depends on the context, and others no, I view it more practically. Which means that maybe they can see only the resources that it can offer, or also the food that it offers, the energy, etc. Moving to the seventh question is should African governments integrate cultural heritage into marine policy and management? So 62% strongly agree, other 23% agree. And we have 16% of people who are neutral or disagree. I am curious to know who disagrees, and maybe if you can defend or just explain your point, because from now on, we can see also in all the reports, the event, the conferences, how it is important to be for a good and a sustainable governance. We need to be inclusive. So, how do you consider the fact that governments cannot or might not really include traditional or cultural heritage? So, if you have maybe an answer to that?
I think I can say something on that. You know, UNESCO itself, which is our parent body for the Ocean Decade, has an office for cultural heritage, which they protect in across Africa and other parts of the world. And the reason why they are doing this is because they still respect the fact that the importance of culture and tradition and certain monuments and certain belief systems that are present in education. So it's one thing for African government to see this culture, to identify these cultural heritages in their regions and be able to promote them. We are not seeing this because I think here in the Western world where I'm staying now, we have a lot of sites. Some of them are old sites, some of them are religious, some of them are based on the belief system of the old of the Germans and all that. They still put them and it is protected. So I think if African government can do likewise to our culture, we keep on saying our culture is dying, but because nobody has really we have not really put policies in place to see that they don't die. And we've had series of even some of our water bodies that are being sandfilled. Some of them were sacred sites. They are being sandfilled to build houses. Of course, these things are not right. So it's good to integrate this cultural heritage into marine policy.
Mhm. Thank you so much, Chris, for your insights. And I believe that Josephine had to leave, but we really thank her for her engagement, for being here, for her time, for her knowledge and wisdom. And thank you so much, Josephine. And we hope to see you again soon. Moving now to the question number 8. We have, what is the most powerful way to pass on cultural ocean knowledge? Storytell No, the first one is school and education curricula with 54%. Then we have community festivals, ceremonies, and then oral storytelling and digital media, 8%. So I think that these answers shows how also governments can implicate and can integrate ocean literacy, because if we have a structured curricula, it always helps to generate this awareness since a younger age, and then to get ocean stewardship by growing up. And at the same time, storytelling, oral storytelling, digital media, community festival are all tools, and also poems, as Ikenna showed us, are all tools to create and to make people connect a little bit more with the ocean, as practical as it is for some, but also as a spiritual space, as well as a vague space to connect with our identity and our traditional heritage. Now, moving to question number 9. In your view, who holds the strongest role in preserving and transmitting ocean traditions? We have 46% elders, men and women. Then we have 38% all equally. And then we have 8% between women and youth. And here we can see that, I mean, all of us are actually responsible and should be taking the responsibility to share the knowledge, because it's not only one way. For ocean literacy and to create this awareness, it should be intergenerational, interdisciplinary. So all of us are actually responsible of transmitting and preserving ocean traditions. And last but not least, the 10th question is, after today's session, how likely are you to apply cultural perspectives in your own work, life related to the ocean? So 54% said that very likely, 38% said that likely, and others think that they will not be very keen to apply cultural perspectives. So arriving to this point, we thank you very much for this engagement towards answering our poll. We'll wait for you tomorrow because we will have other questions to answer. And again, to just reflect on what we have seen today, we have seen that tradition and heritage guide sustainable ocean practices, whether at the national, at the regional, or the global aspect. We also saw that there are several tools that makes us connect to the ocean. It's about our festivals, our food, our music, but also our poetry, thanks to artists as Ikenna, who helps us connect a little bit more and engage a little bit more. And just for you to know, tomorrow we will have our second session of this webinar. We are moving from culture to emotion, so we really count on you to be present. We thank you very much for your energy, for your participation, and for your interest as well towards this webinar. Thank you so much. The floor is yours, Chris.
Thank you so much, Sophia, for that. And I'm really grateful to our speakers, Josephine, and for the recommendation we got from Dr. Yarwood. Dr. Yarwood is a member of the task force, African National Task Force. We contacted her to be the speaker, but she said she has a very beautiful student who can be able to take over. And of course, Josephine, we are really grateful. She's not here, but I have to pour a lot of encomiums on her and the way she gave us this very brilliant presentation. And also our brother here, Ikenna. Ikenna is a seafarer, and he did a very marvelous work to show us the connectivity between poems and ocean literacy. And you know, in some of our projects which we are doing for kids, we are trying to incorporate poems, and it's very nice to see to motivate these hidden kind of emotions for young people and also adults in general to be able to look at the ocean with another kind of look and really see that it's more than just an ocean. It's really something that we should have a relationship with. So lastly, I would like to share a question. I would like to share a link to our questionnaire. Please. Oh, okay. What I will do is, because of my 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 computer, it's misbehaving now. It's misbehaving. I've already seen that. So I wouldn't do that now because I wanted to copy the link to paste it there. So what I'm going to do is tomorrow, when you join, I will share the bigger questionnaire which we have. We are using this to derive a policy and a report for traditional literacies in Africa. So we can be able to, those of us who are into research, who wants to use some of our works, we can give this to you so you can be able to base your work on it. Already we've received multiple contacts from people who really are interested in this work. So that's the reason why we're asking you, especially ECOB Africa members, to and those of you in the university to share within your network so we can get responses for you. It's just a 30 minutes webinar, 30 minutes questionnaire for you to fill up. Then lastly, we are supposed to take a screenshot, but now I have found out that I don't even know how to use the tools for the screenshot because this is a webinar view. You can't get everyone on the screen. Sophia, I can't see anyone on the screen. I thought when I launched the webinar, we'll be able to see everyone's faces, but now I can't see everyone's faces.
Taking screenshots from the different cameras showing. So we can
the only camera showing are the cameras of Ikenna and Co, because you are not allowed to share your camera on a webinar.
you just able to put your camera on so I can take a picture of us. Not all of us, but I will go by sections. It will be a good option.
No, Sophia, it's not showing at all because it's only showing a webinar background. You can't show pictures.
But I can see the different faces. So I am
Are you sure?
Yes, I am able to take
Good.
take a screenshot just briefly, quickly, so we have all people here.
Oh, good. But it's not on my own view, Varun.
I only have few, not all of the present people. But okay, I did it.
Okay, good.
Okay. So I think that to this point, we still have a little quick question, but it will serve us as a conclusion. So Ashikur, I can see your question. He says, if a culture allows people certain activities that pose harm to the ecosystem, ecology, and other aspects, is it really necessary to integrate each and every culture to the policy management? And I think that this closes up our session today because it reminds us what Josephine said about the fact that having in mind the cultures and where we come from serves us as a context. So maybe it's not about considering the harm that we are producing to the ecosystem and to the ecology and other aspects, but it is starting off that to see how we can change behaviors, how we can change the the relation that we have towards the ocean through those practices, how we can improve ourselves. So with that, I hope, Ashikur, that I answered briefly.
Yeah, I think he said thank you. So thank you so much, everyone, and it was really nice to have you all join us in today's webinar. So let's see you tomorrow, same time. Please, let's try to come earlier because tomorrow it will really be on particularly on emotions, and more visualization and mental awareness. So please try join us tomorrow and do have a lovely, enjoy the rest of your evening or day as soon as possible. Okay. So bye. Bye,
Thank you.
everyone. Thank you so much,
Bye
Ikenna. Thank
bye.
you so much, Irias. Thank you so much,
Okay.
Asiku,
My pleasure.
Ewube, Fan, Esther, David, uh, Matthew, Kelly, Pauline, Priska, and others that have also, Cornelius, and others that have gone. So do have a lovely day. Bye. Thank you so much, Sophia, also. You went off. I guess it was your network. All right, so I end the webinar now. Bye.
Okay, thank you, everyone. I hope to see you tomorrow.
All right.